right, guys, welcome to the 92 Mesh Group channel, your home on YouTube for the air raid offense. This is Coach Coltharp with the boys from 92 Mesh Group. We got Coach Napier from West Virginia and Coach Dular out of South Carolina with us tonight, and we're going to live stream a little bit with the air raid chat and talk a little air raid ball. So if you're on the channel with us, shoot us some questions. We'll be more than happy to answer some things that you have, and you know, we're getting ready for Saturday. So if you're in the North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia area and you don't have anything to do Saturday, come on down to Fayetteville. I think we got about 18 tickets left for the air raid intensive. It's going to be seven sessions. It's going to be a pretty great day of football talk, and got some good stuff. We're giving away free t-shirts. We got some other giveaways going on, and just found this out yesterday. If you come down to the clinic, you're gonna get 15% off your lunch at Max Speed Shop. And if you've ever wanted some good wings, let me tell you, they got great wings and beer and all that good stuff. Great place to eat. They're gonna give us a 15% off coupon if you want to eat lunch there. And if you want to stay at the hotel, if you just call them and tell them you're coming for air raid intensive, they'll give you a special rate on that deal. So we really look forward to those guys. You know, you guys coming down right now. We're really excited to talk ball, and Coach Dular is working. I asked him how he was doing this week. He said, "Man, I'm getting ready for this clinic." So, Coach, why don't you talk a little bit about what you're going to talk about as we start getting some questions about what's going on in the air raid world?
Well, nothing special. Just going to go over O-line play. I got a little bit on what I've done with run blocking, our pass pro schemes and drills, and then a lot of film.
Yeah, a lot of film. What kind of stuff are we going to be looking at from you? Did we lose Shane?
I think so.
Gotta love technology, man. Gotta love technology. That's why we're coaches, not technicians. Well, we're waiting on Shane. I don't know what he froze up a little bit, so we'll see what's going on about trying to get him back. But Coach Knapp, you're coming down Thursday night, Friday, I think, and you got a couple of things you're going to talk about. What are you going to be talking about?
Quick game and how to attack defenses, and then also because of the messages I've been getting off of the website, I'm going to do scripting and how to let your quarterback have some control, and you'll get to see how that quick game ties into that. Okay,
so you script pretty much like how Coach Mummy scripts, right? You're pretty much a you're going to look at the whole idea of scripting the field, where the field is, and all those kind of things, and that's I know that's really important to you, and so talk a little bit about how you decide what to call and do that stuff. Well, I'm trying to get Coach Dular back, man.
Man. What I do is, we'll talk about more in the clinic, but I've got 3 field zones. Coach Mummy actually does 4 of them, but I have coming off. That means you're pinned back. I have open field, and then I have red zone, and then my coming off script is kind of like my goal line script as well. But inside of that, coming off goal line, there's Coach.
Yeah, we got him back. All right, there we go. Coming off and what else now?
Coming off, open script, and red zone. And then on the other side of my call sheet, I have things like, 3rd and short, 3rd and medium, 3rd and long, 2-point plays, and then my screens. That way I can, control touches for people.
Okay, I got you. And Coach Dular was talking a little bit about O-line play. Go ahead and talk to us a little bit about that, Coach.
I was just saying, I'll do O-line play, a little bit of run blocking, a lot of pass pro stuff, and then mesh and shallow, kind of just the base way that I like to do it, and again, going through a lot of film on it.
Coach, how much vertical setting are you doing these days? Are you still doing the old vertical set, or have you kind of molded that into more slide and all that other stuff?
No, I still vertical set. I taught it slightly different from the start. I mean, I'm still a vertical set believer, but I do kind of set on a slight angle depending on leverage, and I'll talk about that on Saturday. But if you watch their pass pro at any of the air raid schools, you'll see they all kind of do the same thing. They all want to get back and get depth, but they're going to change their path just a little bit.
Sure.
We talk about staying in the cylinder a little bit, but
right.
I'm definitely still a vertical set guy.
All right, well, some of the air raid chat questions are coming in on the internet. Let's look at them a little bit. What is your favorite way to run mesh? What defense gives you the most trouble? What is your go-to quick game? How do you adjust your run game if your QB is fast? These are kind of the questions they're asking. And let's go with number 2 first. I kind of like that. What defense gives you the most trouble? Coach, you were just talking about a few minutes before we came on air, talking about what you saw in that state championship game or semifinal game down in South Carolina, and you were talking about these guys just really play cover 2 and cover 3. So what kind of defenses give you the most trouble?
The ones with better players.
It's always about Jimmys and Joes, not X's and O's, right?
I mean, that's the truth. I mean, I hate to say it, but I think our offense gives us a chance against more talented teams. I'm sure every offensive coordinator would say the same thing, but what hurts you if they've got a team that can man you up and go cover 0 and bring more than you can block. I mean, obviously that's a tough deal. I know we all say, well, we'll hit the big plays on them every now and again, and you hope that's what you can do. But, man, if you're outmanned out there by a premier talented team, that gets tough.
Yeah.
That hurts more than any scheme does.
Yeah, I always said I'm more afraid of guys who just say we're going to do what we do. I smile when a guy comes on Friday night and he comes out and he's doing something brand new. That excites me because basically I get to take a whole year's worth of reps and go against a guy who's been doing something for 3 days. And I get really excited about that. The teams that always gave me the problems were hey, look, I'm an odd front. I'm going to play 2 deep, bang, and this is what we're going to do, and we're going to do it really well. Those were the ones, if you take that air raid approach to defense, and when I was a defensive coordinator, I did the same thing. Hey, look, man, we're just going to do what we do. There's no sense in trying to reinvent the wheel, and I think sometimes we as coaches want to show everybody we're smart. But I think that's the problem. What about you, Nap? What gives you the most problems?
I agree with both of you. I think those are the 2 hardest defenses. The guys that got better dudes and they man you up. But that's why it's important. You got to work pack and go in your mesh drill every day. But then again, also that guy that just sets in what he's good at, because those guys have had just as many reps as we had. I think that's what's hard.
Right. And some other questions are coming in on our chat. Here's one that we love. How many times that your play sheet actually works? That's from Coach James. How many times does your play sheet actually work? What do you say on that, Coach Dular?
Well, if you mean by the play sheet, my open script, 50-50. I mean, a lot of times you have your play script, which for me is more, here's the plays that I think will be the 10, 15 best plays of the night. Mm-hmm. So I don't always call them in order, but usually those plays are pretty good. But usually on that first drive, I'll get off that thing pretty fast. I mean, I'll start attacking, especially when we start getting past the 50. I'm going to start attacking the holes I see, trying to make sure we put points on the board. But I mean, I typically, all the rest of it's, base offense that we practice all the time. The calls don't really change a whole lot for us.
Right. What about you, Nap? I know you really don't have a sheet because it's like a napkin or something. It's probably got ketchup on it from the hot dog you had in pregame. Tell the truth.
It does. At least nacho cheese.
Nacho cheese. Hey, look, I was in Sam's the other day, and this is not a plug for Sam's because they're not giving me any money. But those big buckets of nacho cheese that's got like the metal lid on them or whatever? I swear I was in one of those moods where I just wanted to pull the top off and just put my head down in it, go old school like Apple Bob in that thing. But there's no telling what is in that jar. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, seriously though, I mean, you're notorious, and you start all this Twitter nonsense showing everybody your napkin. But seriously, how often do you stay on that script or?
Man, I stay on it. We'll talk more about this Saturday. My coming off script never changes because it's basically my 2 best runs in play action. Mm-hmm. So that I always stay on that because my kids are comfortable winning. You got to think you're not in that situation very often during a football season, anyways.
Let's hope not.
Yeah, it's your fault. Either the special teams guys in trouble or the defense is in trouble because they just drove down the field. So he's not usually mad at me when that happens.
Right.
Now my open script, like I said, I'm pretty much like Mummy in them. So I put my stuff. Not only is it good plays, it's stuff that's going to tell me answers. How do they handle this motion? How do they handle trips? How do they handle what we call open or ace. So mine's kind of giving me answers. It lets me know where the one technique is. So not only do I have my open script, but I'm trying to find answers from my box guy. It's usually me. I'm usually in the box. on where this stuff is, so I can call our base offense better when we get into it. So my script, I mean, goes back to that defense thing. When I play a good defense, that script's probably not very good. When I play a bad play, it's really good. But here's the thing. I'm letting my kids play the game before the game, and they're going to do the best that they're going to do by doing that anyways.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's and Ruffin McNeil says it better. It's always about kids. It's never about calls. So let's get it. And if you guys had a chance to see the video I did the other day, I had a chance to talk with JT O'Sullivan from the quarterback school. If you haven't seen his channel, go check that out. He's a really good guy. He played in the league for like 10 years for like a bazillion teams. It was a really great guy, but he's really, really smart. He's got a PhD. And one of the things JT talked about was, look here, dude, I just want to call plays to get it to my guys. Whoever my guy is, I'm going to find a way to work that guy, and that's kind of what he wants. So, man, we got a ton of questions coming in on our deal. The Whitetail Underground, I don't even know what that's all about, but it works out for me. What are your favorite quick concepts? I'll just go ahead and tell you right now. I am a stick corner kind of guy. I love stick. I love corner. Obviously, those are my two. If Coach Salas was on, he would talk for the rest of the broadcast about slant. What about you, Nap? What's your quick game go-to? Is it pretty much the same stuff?
Yeah, stick corner. Those two go together, and I'll talk about that Saturday. But also, I think it's important to know that hitch seam and fade out go together. If you guys are there Saturday, you're going to see me talk all about that.
How much, Shane? How much of that do you run a lot of the inside fade stuff? How much of that are you rocking out? Because I don't run it hardly at all. I probably should.
None.
Yeah, I don't run a lot of hitch slot fade, and a lot of people are going to that. And to be honest with you, I don't know if you probably didn't see this earlier on in the channel. I actually sent a text message out to a bunch of people, Coach Salas, Coach Mummy, Matt, a bunch of guys, and say, hey, look, what are you guys doing on the back of your quick game? And Coach Mummy actually put smash on the back of most of his quick game now. He likes that, and the reason why he said that way if the front side quick game breaks down, he has a deeper combination route on the backside. Now me, I'm still going to run inside sit and 5-yard in. Are you a double slant? And I know Joe mirrors. So what do you do, Shane?
Actually, I've done a little bit of everything. I think I've done backside screen, backside slants. Probably always my go-to. I think I'm a little bit closer to you. I kind of taught the backside double slant, a little bit like you do yours already. Mm-hmm. Kind of that 5-yard in on the outside instead of a true slant. I thought it timed up better. I'm
telling you, that thing is money on the 4-yard line. On the 4-yard line, it is money, son. If you put that ball right, like about 1.5 yards inside the pylon, it's like stealing. It's mm-hmm. Awesome.
I've gotten pretty good double slant the last couple of years, though. So, that's probably going to be my go-to.
Yeah. What about you, Nap?
I do the same thing you do. I stole it from you. I ain't going to
lie. I'm sure I stole it from somebody. I can't remember who it was. All right. Hey, Coach Bullock wants to know about on mesh, blue mesh. I will go ahead and tell you, Toby, here's what I teach guys. They're talking about X alignment on that deal. I tell X to get into a performance alignment. Because some guys can be wider than other guys depending on what kind of feet they got. If they're fast, they can be wider. If they're slow, I've had guys that were like 2 yards from the tackle, and they're just going to line up tight. But in blue mesh, definitely going to do that. You have to just tell that X that they have to know if they're going to run mesh, they got to get to where they can get where they need to be. And it's one of those things where you get scared. Well, if he lines up here, coach, they're going to know that it's coming. Yeah, okay, and they still got to stop it. So, you guys pretty much the same on that. You just tell them to get to where they can go. We try to tell them to stay as wide as possible, but, some guys got to get closer on mesh than others, right?
Yeah, your performance alignment, I might steal that, but I'm going to tell everybody it was mine.
Yeah,
but we call it a common sense alignment. You got to have some common sense in the way. If you're a fast guy, get wider. If you're a slow guy, get closer. If you need more space for the slant, widen out. If you need, if you're trying to get out to the sideline faster, widen out. If you're trying to get across the field, tighten up. We try and common sense it. One, I hope it makes us we're not quite as predictable. And we got to help guys out who aren't quite the same level of athlete. the thing is, it's got to time up right. You got to figure that out. I mean, to me, that's no different than, are you a 10-yard curl, a 12-yard curl, or a 15-yard? Depends on how fast you are. I mean,
yeah, I mean,
all that depends on your speed.
Ideally you want that 12 to 10 or 15 to 12, but depending. And I don't know about you guys, if you jump in on this right here, but I don't teach steps anymore. I just don't. I teach yardage. Because, my 5-step post is different than Shane's 5-step post, because my legs are shorter or longer. Or, if you got a 6'5" guy and you tell him to run 5 steps, he might end up, at 17 yards down the field. So I just tell them, we run a 10-yard corner. I mean, and, obviously we talk about steps and, hey, that should be about 4 steps, but I need you to push to 10 and then break it out or whatever. Do you guys still teach steps, or how does that work?
The only thing I teach steps on is slant and the out route, like the flat, H flat, Y flat. I teach steps on that. Those 2 routes are the only ones, just because I do want those to kind of hit at exact moments. But other than that, no, I've always been a yardage guy.
What about you, Nap?
I'm a step guy. But with that said, I think you start with steps, because I played receiver and I've coached a lot of receivers. And when you're on the 43-yard line and you're trying to play fast, it's hard to map out sometimes how deep 15 or 12 yards is, just from playing experience. Yeah. So to me, if I can get them,
I get that. Well, hey,
they do better.
I would say that's one of the cool things about the just play stuff that I've been using in some of the videos, is that as you draw, it actually puts the yardage on your arrows. So it's the coolest thing ever. Like when you're doing your play cards or whatever, as you're drawing the arrow, you see the little thing moving, and you go 10, 10, 10. Like so you can draw really accurate lines, and that was one of the things I was talking to one of those guys about the other day. I was like, hey man, that part is really, really cool in that deal versus some of the other stuff that we've used. All right, hey, jumping back into the deal. Let's see, Coach Attaway. Let's see what he talks about. He's talking about, do you use your script to see how the defense is playing different formations and motions and go from there? Go ahead, Nap. You're shaking your head.
Yes, that's exactly, especially my open script. That's exactly what it's for. Because those open script plays that I have motions on, they're kind of all beaters. Sometimes they'll be paired with a run. Sometimes they'll be paired with a screen. But I know if I can get a certain guy moving, it's going to open up stick or cell or corner or whatever. I know how they're going to handle it. I can call it.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Shane? I mean, pretty much the same deal?
I guess. I mean, it's a little bit to verify what I thought was going to happen or to see what their game plan is. But, to be honest, I'm not a huge formation guy. So, I mean,
I don't formation a lot either.
Yeah, we have a few formations, so we're going to line up and do what we do to a certain extent. Now, the last few years, I've been working for a guy that is a formation guy.
He is.
And it's a big part of our offense is about figuring out, different ways to create an extra gap or to get an extra guy to the party. I mean, so I see the strength in it, man. It does some good stuff for us. I know that. But, when I'm running the air raid stuff, it's just not quite as big a deal.
I would tell you one of the biggest reasons why I script to make sure that I call certain things.
There's no doubt about that.
Because there's sometimes where, how many times have you been in a game and you kind of get in a groove and you've worked all week on this and you're like, yo, I ain't called that yet. And at the top of every one of my play cards, it says throw the screens, throw the screens, throw the screens. And then next thing you know, it's 21-7 and you're still throwing screens and you forgot to call shallow. So I try to script things to make sure that I call certain things that I've looked at during the week that I think are going to work. So Blake, you're right. That's kind of why we script is to kind of show what's going on that. Coach Greenfield, so he's coming to the clinic Saturday. We appreciate you, Coach. We can't wait to meet you. Excited to see you Saturday. I was wondering how you grouped your screens into families and what makes you like each of those families. Example, fast screens versus cover 2. To be honest, I don't really concern myself with what the defense does when I call my screens. What I give the quarterback the option to do is to call, what we call a 1 screen or a 2 screen, and he's going to look out there, and if we got a 1 screen called and we see press, he's probably going to call a 2 screen and throw it to the pedal. Like I said, I'm more of a Coach Mummy guy. I don't concern myself with what the defense does too much. If you coach your quarterback up right, they know where the grass is and they know what to find. I mean, but like I said, if you're getting pressed, there's no need to run the screen, because like what Dular was talking about earlier, if you get these guys who are going to cover zero you and all this other stuff, that's a 5-man box, my friend. That's a 5-man box. You better be doing Q counter and some other stuff, and they'll stop that mess, and then you can get your screen back. So, I mean, I don't really worry about what coverage I'm getting. I'm going to go into every game with a fast screen. Every game. And if I get a big play, and if you play against me, just so you know, if I break a 30-yard run, the very next play is going to be screened to the boundary. Just so you know, it's coming. and I don't mind having that tail. So there are certain things that never come out of my offense, and fast screens are one of them. What about you, Nap?
I think, this is my thing about screens. My fast screens make the defense line up right. I'm not going to let them cheat. I'm not going to let them play 7 guys in the box and me have a hard time throwing a stick or a hitch. So if they're giving me that cushion, I'm going to take it. That's part of the philosophy of the air raid when Coach Mummy started this thing, was throw the ball quick to people, or short to people who can score. So the fast screen is the fastest way to do that. The way I train my fast screens is from the time the guy snaps the ball to the time the guy catches it, it has to be 1.5 seconds. So he's gripping it and ripping it. We work that every day in screen drill.
How do you do that up in West Virginia? I mean, do you use like a half a finger when you count? I mean, I don't know how that goes.
Yeah. You got to throw it uphill, too.
I can't count to 1.5, man. I have to use my toes.
That's right.
What about you, Shane? Are you pretty much like us? I mean, you and me come from Salas, so we're probably going to screen every day, right?
Yeah. I'm a little bit different, though. I do try and figure out what the defense is doing on the perimeter. That does change things a little bit for me. Whether we're going to fast screen 1, fast screen 2, we're going to bubble number 3, mm-hmm. We're going to pedal out. I mean, we do change it up a little bit based on what the defense is doing. I mean, it's just trying to create favorable angles and favorable matchups.
And I will tell you, if you get into early and run that fast screen to H, man, that's pretty sweet. I got some good tape on that. It'll be in the Total Air Raid System 2.0 when we start doing that. I got some good cut-ups of running fast screen to H out of early, which is really nice. Let's see what we got. Coach James came back in. Down and distance, open field, coming out, orange zone. Coach, I think Coach Napier's got a video on our channel where he talks about the scripting. Check that out real quick, because we got a ton of questions, and let me get to this next one. If we got some time, we'll come back to that, because that's kind of a long deal. Coach Tringler he's talking about how do you deal with blocking 5-man fronts when running the ball. We see a lot of 5-3 defenses. Shane?
Talk about cover, all your guys covered.
Yeah.
If I got too many guys in the box, I'm not running it. I mean that's.
I'm thinking he might mean like a 3-2. Like the 2-4-I type deal, if not mistaken. And Anthony, give us a little bit more info on that, brother, if you're still here, so we can kind of.
If I got a true 5-man box, as far as there's only 5 guys in there, then I mean we're gonna rule block our base runs and live with it. I mean, if you only got 5 in the box, I better figure out a way to be able to run, counter, and dart.
Yeah, no doubt. Or we're going to be looking for a new offensive line coach. Hey, look, let me tell you this. My next video that's going to drop tomorrow is going to be the first of a 2-part series on becoming a head coach. And I will tell you, as an air raid guy, the most important cat you can hire is your offensive line guy. He's got to be able to spend and one thing, hey, if you're an offensive line coach, let me tell you this. You want to work for an air raid guy. You will never ask for more individual time. Any other offense I've ever worked in, when I was an O-line coach, I was a Division I offensive lineman. I was like, hey, look here, coach, I need more time. Coach, I need more time. Coach, I need more time. Well, coach, I don't know about all that. Air raid offensive line coaches never have to ask for more time, because you get a ton of it. So if you want to work on individual skills, go coach for an air raid guy. Speaking of which, if you're looking for a job, or if you have a job, go over to 92meshgroup.com. The jobs board is open. Post some positions. There's a couple up there right now, but if you're looking for assistants, it's hiring season. People are getting ready to move around and stuff like that. And if you're looking for an air raid cat, post a job up there, and you guys can get in there. It's in the community section as well. And speaking of the community section, as we get to a couple of other things, we're doing a giveaway on the channel this month. Doesn't cost you anything. You just got to sign up with your email and stuff like that. But we're giving away a free coaches polo. And if you want to see what they look like, come to the clinic Saturday, because we'll all be rocking them. They're pretty cool. All right, let's see. Coach Ray, when it comes to being balanced, how many balls would you give to your top athlete? How do you determine how many balls everyone should get?
As many as he keeps scoring with.
Right. And if you look at the video that Coach Salas did the other day on his channel, if you saw his distribution, Z ate up a ton of balls for Joe. And ideally you would like for there to be some kind of equitable distribution. Look at me sounding smart. You like that word right there, Napier? Did they use that in West Virginia? Equitable.
Are you talking about like a computer or something?
Oh, well, Shane's the math coach. You notice I don't pick on him, right? Because he'll make me look bad. But no, when you're talking about equitable distribution, ideally you'd like for all of those guys to touch the same amount of time. But, like what JT was saying when I was talking to him the other day, he said, look here, man, you got to find a way to get it to your dude. And I'm sure we all feel the same. What do you think, Shane? Same thing?
No, FTM. You got to feed the monster.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
If you got a stud, you got to get it to him. I was at UNC visiting one time, and I was talking to Shoop when he was the OC there, and he talked about how in the pros one time they came in at halftime and they said, well, how many balls did so-and-so catch? And they're like, well, coach, they're double covering him. They got a man under trying to play it safe. Because I didn't ask about all that bullshit. How many times did he catch the ball?
Yeah, no doubt.
Get the ball to the stud.
Yeah, no doubt.
So
Doubt.
we're going to do that. Now, obviously, I do track and try and make sure that all the positions are getting the ball. Because I do want them to have to defend the whole field. That's a big part of our offense. But, I kick myself when I come out of there and my monster hasn't touched the ball enough. That's my fault, not his.
Yeah, at halftime, I want to see a touch chart. I want to see. I've got somebody who says how many times X touches it, how many times Y touches it, stuff like that. And speaking, you said the whole field. Speaking of which, guys, that's a nice little shameless plug. This will be up tonight on our podcast channel, Squadron533.podbean.com. You can go to the website and get to it. It's available on iTunes too. So if you don't get a chance to watch the video, or if you got a ride to work and you want to listen to us talk a little bit about air raid ball, check that out because it'll be up there. We're all about talking ball and stuff like that. But hey, that's a great question, Coach Ray. Let's see. Coach Leonard says, how do you decide if you want to use play action for any one of the air raid concepts? Would you use a tag word? Well, for us, we just say action. We have a signal for action, so that just tells the quarterback, hey, fake inside zone or something like that, unless we have a RPO called. But I think, Shane talked about this last week, and I did a video about a top secret play action play. You can check that out on the channel because I don't want to put that out on public, on the podcast because it's top secret. But it was a play action play. What about you? Nap, do you use how do you decide what are you going to play action off of?
I like play action off of Y cross, but anytime that we call play action, for example, Y cross is 95, we would just call it 85. So the O-line knows when they hear that 8, they're doing play action. And we run a lot of, our big thing is 34 and 35, which is ISO. So we do the double under tag with the running backs.
Oh, okay. What about you, Shane?
Yeah, I'm like you. We do the action tag. Back in the day, we did the 80s. That's what we had at Allison State, and we did that too. But now we just call action. We could call 92 action if we wanted to.
Yeah.
91, action. And they just know they're going to play fake the ball first and then run their deal.
And you know what the great thing about that whole situation is? You're both right.
Oh yeah.
And I tell people this all the time. More often than not, I get a call or a text message or a DM of people wanting to know, what we call this or what that is, and can I do this? Can I call this? And I say this and I say it again and again and again and again. You have to make it your own. You have to be able to coach it. And if there's something that helps you remember it, or more importantly, if it helps your kids remember it, then that's what you got to go with. A concept is a concept, whether you call it 92 or you call it Mexico. We used to call mesh Mexico. It is what it is.
No, you're right. Hey, that thing.
Coach Fetty just got onto me, told me to take it easy on West Virginia. All right, Coach, man, my bad. Rep it again, CNAP. Rep it again, CNAP. Show everybody the shirt. Yeah, those ain't the real Mountaineers, though, boy. Appalachian State, because ain't nobody like us. We are the Mountaineers. Top 20, baby. All right, let's see what Coach Vaughn's talking about. He says, your favorite ways to deal with 3-4 type, I knew it was coming, with drop 8 coverage. Right, Coach Napier? This must be one of your boys.
Sometimes. I like, if they're dropping 8, that kind of goes back to my quarterback check, run the ball. I like guard against that stuff. Here's the thing about tight front that I've realized. How do they align if you put a tight end in the game or if you go to 20 personnel?
Yeah.
I'm going to bring all those guys in and play games. I'm going to bring guys in and play games too. So I just kind of got to know what they're doing. But I know it's kind of a short answer, but we could probably spend all night on that. But I just got to try, once again, going back to what Coach Mummy said and you said, I got to do what the defense gives me anyways.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, Shane. I just treat that 4-eye like a 3. We'll just reach them and run inside zone, or we'll pin and pull, on that cat, and they're gonna have a hard time, like Chris says, if you bring a tight end in or a H back. I think, you just can't be scared of defenses. I think I don't know how you guys feel about this, but as far as I feel about when you get into the air raid stuff, I think if you get into the situation where you have to adjust to what the defense is doing, I think you're kind of getting out of the philosophy. The idea is to attack, and make them adjust to you. And, and that's what Coach Mummy says all the time. He's like, the defense, who's that? I mean, it sounds cocky, but really and truly, you have to attack and make them adjust. And if you allow them to stay in that, I mean, run. How can you stop shallows if somebody's dropping 8? Yeah. How can you stop stick when you swing it to the back if somebody's dropping 8? Because the Z's going to run off the corner. The outside backer is going to be vertical setting onto the hash marks, and you're going to throw the ball out into the flat to your probably best athlete, right, Coach Dular? That's the monster. You're going to give it to him in the flat, and you're going to say, hey, okay, safety, run the alley and tackle this guy. I mean, how can they do that without, eventually what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to run some kind of cloud coverage and roll that corner down to help force the run on that deal because it becomes a sweep. So there's some things that you can do against that, guys. I mean, don't let what the defense does scare you. Be scared of people. Don't be scared of, schemes. I mean, now if they got a dude, they got a dude. I think, Coach Dular was saying before we came on air tonight, talking about how, the team they played last week, their corners were their best tacklers, and they were funneling the corners. I mean, who does that, right? But if they're dudes, they're dudes. All right, let's see. Let's see what Coach Newkirk's talking about. What advice would you give a coach that spent time to learn the air raid philosophy but no experience in position play? What position do you feel are important for a new OC to learn and coach?
You better know the line stuff because if you can't protect it, you're not going to be able to throw it.
Yeah, I would say that. I think that's the biggest mistake young guys make when they get into the offense is they study the the chapters on the quick game and the drop back game and all that stuff, and they don't understand, the pass pro. And that's the great thing about the air raid, isn't it, Shane? You just got even or nickel and you're done. Mm-hmm. It's you're looking, you're basically blocking 4, you're blocking 5, and you're numbering people off, and you need to understand that if the guards got 1s, the tackles got 2, the quarterbacks in the backs got 3s, and as long as you understand that. I think that's a big thing. So you're right, Chris, on that deal. I think you got to understand the backs better than anybody else. What about Shane? Would you agree with? The O-line. Would you agree with that, Shane, or what?
Yeah. No, it's no doubt that it's probably a lot more fun to coach quarterbacks and skill guys. I mean, you want to go out there and you want to throw the ball around. That's why you're in this offense.
I was bored to death my first year when Joe made me coach O-line. I was the head coach, and he said, "You're coaching the O-line."
Honestly, I don't care what offense you're in. If you want to be good at it, you better have a good O-line.
Absolutely.
So you either better know it or you better have a good O-line coach. And if you want to make sure you have a career in it, start with O-line because there's not enough good O-line coaches.
Oh yeah, hey, listen. I get told that when everybody finds out that I played O-line in college, they're like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, man. I was a great O-line coach in my mind. I wasn't bad, but I do know O-line play very well, and so that gives you the opportunity to go in and be able to work pretty much anywhere." Here's a great one. Coach Ivory is talking about, is the air raid offense a great way to help a bad program become competitive? Coach Ivory, go to Coach Salas's channel and listen to what he talks about. Okay, I talked with him on my channel about this a couple of weeks ago. He was at a school that won like 12 games in like 5 years. And he's been in the playoffs twice and went to the second round. And if you're around Fayetteville, you need to come to the clinic Saturday because Coach Salas is going to talk about turning programs around with the air raid. And I will say this, and I'm going to let the other guys chime in on this, but here's what the air raid does for you. It makes kids want to play. And usually when you get to a school, if they're bad, it's because there's more athletes in the hallways than there are at practice. Now, some schools got more athletes than others, but I don't care if you have 5 athletes or 50. If they're not all playing, you're not doing something right. And the one thing about the air raid is guys want to do that. What do you think, Shane?
No, I agree. I was watching the news the other day, the local news here, and we have a team in this area that was not very good in football this year. They had one of their kids in the basketball game jump up and hammer dunk this thing right in the middle of a fast break. I mean, it was just spectacular. I'm like, where was that kid at when we played them on Friday night?
Yeah.
And that's what the air raid does. You got a chance of getting that kid now. And I'm going to second what you said about Silas. I know he's done a great job at Hopton, but you look at his career. You know, what Dewey County was before we got there, what South Johnston was before we got there. I mean, there was 4 or 5 other schools that you could name that before he got there and what they were 3 years later, the turnaround is gigantic.
There are just guys who do that, and he's a fixer.
Yep.
You know, he's a fixer. He and this year he talked on that video him and I had. He talked about double endowment on culture and doing some things, and I'm really excited. I'm supposed to have Randy Jackson on the channel. If you've ever read the TPW book, he's supposed to come on the channel here in the next couple of weeks, and you know he's big on culture too. You know, and I tell people all the time. People think I'm lying, but Joe Salas is an elite football coach. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, and you know, you need to look at his channel because the stuff that he puts out, you know, he's not going to be all glitzy. You know, he's not going to have all the graphics and stuff that like I do just because I like to do that kind of stuff. Joe's meats and potatoes, man. It's a hamburger with some bread and it's going to be good. And he might put some ketchup on a grilled cheese, you know, but other than that, it is what it is. I mean, it's just, you know, Joe is elite. And, here's a good one right here. Coach Attaway's come back with, do y'all find it easier to coach zone blocking or some gap schemes? Also, what do y'all find is easier to RPO off? I'm a zone guy. I like zone, but if I had to pick one, I would be a gap guy. But I think you have to have a zone and a gap run, don't you think? Don't you think, Chris?
Well, I'm a main guy because once you learn to pass pro, you learn how to run ISO and dart at the same time. For me, then you got to have your outside run. But I'm a receiver coach too, guys, so you probably want to pass this one to Shane.
Well, I can tell you what, Shane, the last time I played Shane when we were head coaches together, man, he ate me up on inside zone, and that's because he decided to back block on the tackle and fold underneath, and we ain't stopped it yet. I don't think my defensive guys saw it, and I was probably sad.
Well, you helped me out by only leaving 5 in the box most of the night, so that helped out.
Well, you had some dudes though, man. We were trying to split.
Had some dudes now. There's no doubt you had some freaking dudes.
We were trying to split the difference, and you know, I kind of have a rule with my outside backers. I tell them, I was like, look, you're going to split the difference to 7 yards because I do not want to give up. You know, one thing, guys, if you're an air raid guy or if you're a passing guy at all, there's one thing that you really have to do. Coach Mackey talks about it in RPO games, so we're still talking about RPOs, Coach Attaway, but Coach Mackey talks about when he throws RPOs, he talks about that gift route. Mm-hmm. You know, if everybody's outside the X or outside the Z and you're running it that way, there's a gift, throw the gift. Well, the gift could be Y or H as well. You know, I just don't think people throw uncovered enough. You know, what's wrong with throwing a 5-yard hitch and having 2nd and 5? And there's nothing wrong with that. And so, you know, Shane was really good at throwing stick and things like that. And so our plan going into that game was to make sure that we split the difference, you know, up to about 7 yards. And he did a few things with formations, not a lot, but, you know, the way that he lined up against us, you know, it kind of forced us to play 5 in the box. And because of his screen game was good enough, you know, we weren't able to fall in on the runs as well as we should have. And that's the problem with air raid. I mean, you got to play 53 yards with 11 guys, and it's tough if you got a guy who really knows how to manipulate the field like Shane did that night. And so, you know, I like the RPO off the counter, and especially if you do it the way that Lincoln Riley does it. You know, everybody used to RPO off the defensive ends, but now Lincoln and them have started RPOing off the inside linebackers. You know, if you have a 2-man inside backer, whoever the weak side backer is, and running counter, I'm sure you guys do that, don't you, Shane? Because as much as y'all run counter down there.
Yeah, we do.
I think Mark Morris just called counter, didn't he?
Well, yeah, no, he did, right behind me.
Yeah, he just called counter. I mean, the dude, he wakes up counter.
Yeah, no, we do. We definitely have some 2nd and 3rd level RPOs in there. We really didn't do a whole lot of it this year. We didn't have to, but we have it in the system. We have it in the package, and we work it a little bit. I want to go back to your other question, though, and I'm with you. I think you got to be able to run zone, and you got to be able to gap. And if for nothing else, being able to run some kind of gap scheme, it helps your defense. All right? And I know our offense gets, you know, picked on a little bit about how our defenses sometimes give up points. But one of the things we can do to help them is to run a gap scheme and make them take on a kick, make them take on a funnel, make them take on a double team, and learn how to play off those things. And it makes them a tougher, meaner, better defense.
I think I also say this. I think it's really hard to be physical just being a zone team, especially if you can't cut. Like, them guys in Texas, they can cut on the backside and do all that college stuff. And it's real easy to be tough when you can release inside and throw on linebackers. Man, I loved it when I was at Lane, man. We'd run speed option, and we'd had the tackle releasing inside and getting back outside and chopping down outside linebackers. Oh, man, it's great. Yeah. I mean, you're loving life, but the high school.
You can set the wall on inside zone if you can cut that backside guy.
Yeah, and so it makes it tough to be physical. And listen, there is no reason why you cannot be physical and be an air raid team. There's just not reason. Right. You don't, just because you don't have a fullback on the field all the time doesn't mean you can't be physical. I've done a lot of things where we motioned receivers in and cracked people, and we're physical on the outside and doing some things like that. So, but I do feel like, and hey, listen, I may lose my O-line card on this deal, but I just feel like at the high school level, it's hard to be a physical team being a zone blocking team. Now, I may or may not be wrong on that. That's just how I feel about that. Hope that answers your question, Coach Attaway. Let's see. We got let's see, blah, blah, blah. Coach Poove is back. Looking forward to the deal. Congratulations on your head job. Hope your first week was good. Coach Leonard, this is a good one, Coach Leonard. Coach Leonard, I played QB at Iowa Wesleyan prior to Coach Mummy's arrival. Missed him by 2 years, and now I'm studying the air raid. That's irony. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I bet you lived through some stuff down there. I still would have loved to seen Coach Mummy throw that turkey into the university president's yard. And if you haven't read Stretch the Cornfield, you go over to our website. We have a little coaching library now at the shop. You can go in and click on it and get books and things like that. If you haven't read Stretch the Cornfield, you need to read it. If you're an air raid guy, you just need to read it. It tells the story of, I can just see Coach Mummy and Coach Leach, riding down the road in a wood-sided station wagon going to recruit cats. It just rides my head pretty cool on that deal. Let's see. Dang, hey, Coach Ivory, don't worry. If we sell out, man, we'll have the videos up online. Let's check back over on Twitter. Coach Wheeler, I don't disagree with you, but I do think it's a lot easier to convince kids that they're tough if they're blocking angles. Coach Wheeler says running one scheme over another doesn't make you a tough team. Having tough kids, particularly the O-line, makes you a tough kid. I don't disagree with that, but I do feel like it's easier to implement or to impose your will on people when you're hitting them in the ears. And I know when I played in college, one of the things that I hated a head-up defender more than anything. But if we got the down block on 3 techniques or do different things like that, I felt like we were a stronger team. And so you're exactly right. Tough kids are tough kids no matter what you do. But I just feel like it's easier to impose your will when you're gap scheming.
I'll tell you another thing, and kind of what you're saying, very similar. You hope to work in the off season and the summer to make yourself bigger and stronger than your opponent. But if you're a little bit of a lesser athlete and a little bit not quite as strong as the other guy, your only chance is blocking angles. All right, if you got a square guy up and you got him just man on man, hit him in his play side number and try and move him, that's a tough deal unless you're bigger and stronger.
Yeah, no doubt. And it falls back in. Oh God, I can't believe I'm gonna say this. This was worse than Salas running the ball 63% this year. It's what the wing T guys say. It's finding angles and hitting those angles, and that's why they all say that with lesser athletes, the wing T is what you want to run. But like I said, I love the zone. We run zone. I can teach the zone. I mean, we ran zone at every level in college, and I was fortunate. I played in 2 or 3 different types of offenses when I was at East Carolina with Steve Logan, and we were all checked inside zone, outside zone, and then when I went to Appalachian with Coach Moore, we ran Nebraska G load, we ran power, we ran toss, we ran all kind of different things. So I've had opportunity to play in a lot of stuff, and I love probably my favorite running play is power O, but we don't run it as much as we run zone anymore. Hey, there's my boy Rod. My boy Rod just came in. Rod played for me for a year at Lane when I was there. Just got married and just had a kid. Congratulations, Rod. Rod's a good coach down in Mississippi. Good quarterback, man. That kid could spin it. he could spin it. You know, we went down to Clark, Atlanta, and threw 6 calls like 4 times in a row, and I got in trouble with the head coach. Did you just call the same play 4 times in a row? Yeah, we just scored 2.
Not to call 5.
Yeah, but that just reminds me. So looking over at the air raid chat on Twitter, they're talking a little bit about they're talking about different ways to run mesh and some stuff like that. I mean, we talked a little bit about that last week about how we all like to run mesh and we're toying with kind of the Leech deal. What are some other questions you guys might have? Give us a few more, and we'll hang out and answer some other stuff if you have it. One of the things that I will tell you is if you don't subscribe to Coach Salas's channel, you need to check him out. Like I said, he's going to start posting pretty regular again. I know Coach Mackey's going to start posting regular again. I talked to Coach Taylor. Coach Pat Taylor was going to be on with us tonight, but he got sick at the last minute. He called me. He said, "Coach, I got a fever," and I get it, man. I mean, how many of us get sick at the end of football season? Your body is just dead, and then like the little sniffle, you end up on the couch with a white banky, just knocked out. And that's I feel sorry for him. Hope he feels better on that deal. But like I said, we do have a couple of tickets left for the air raid intensive, and trust me, I know it's early in the year to have a clinic, but I just really wanted to do something because I had so many guys asking me to do that, and right now we got about 25 guys coming down, and we're really excited about that. We knew it was going to be small, but hey, I will tell you this: it's not 100% confirmed yet, but I think we're going to have Phil Longo at Air Raid Nation. So if you're a big fan of Carolina football, I talked to Coach Longo the other day. It's on his calendar. Coach Brown loves for his coaches to do things with high school coaches in the state of North Carolina. So I'm really excited about it. Hopefully we get that confirmed. But if that's great, now you're talking about having Hal Mummy, Phil Longo. You're talking about having Pat Taylor. You're talking about having all the mesh group coaches, to clean up after those guys and throw away throw away cups. And you got Ron Mackey. Guys coming up here, and we got a couple other guys we can't announce yet that it's going to be an awesome clinic. And don't tell anybody, but tickets are going to go on sale here really soon. So as soon as we get air raid intensive shut down, we'll get that up, and we'll start announcing some more speakers. And it's going to be a great 2 days of football. I'm really excited about that. Coach Newkirk came in and wanted to know about the vertical sets, or have we dabbled in half slide like Coach Mackey. Hey, Newkirk, don't get caught up in what people call things, because really, even though you're vertical setting, you really are half sliding. Okay, you're really turning away from the first uncovered, and it's just like, some people call it snag and everybody else calls it corner. It is what it is. It's a zone scheme that becomes a man scheme, and it's just how it works itself out. Don't get caught up in the minutia of how people want to talk, because that's just how like professors make money. They go to a conference and they start talking all this other stuff. The one thing I would tell you is no matter what technique you teach your kids, they need to know who they have. And one of the best offensive line drills I do is point. Okay, who do you have? I got him, coach. Okay, you ain't gotta hit nobody. Just point. And sometimes we'll do a walkthrough before practice, a point blitz pickup, and then we'll have the defense run through, and we'll just have them go half speed so you make sure they have the right cat. I can't tell you how important that is. That's a really big thing. So as far as half slide is concerned, I mean it's one of those things. I mean, and you're not wrong. I mean, Coach Dular, who do you know that doesn't vertical? That's a pure air raid guy. Does Mason still vertical, or is he?
I believe so. I haven't broken any of their film down, so I mean I don't know. I know that they were before he got there. I'm assuming he is. I mean he learned from the same guys. But I just want to piggyback what you said. You're 100% right. If you have a man.
Hey, checks in the mail, coach. Man, you said I was right like 3 times tonight.
You're having a good night.
I'm having a great night, bro. Validation. It's the fuels the soul.
Yeah, if you have a man scheme, at some point it's going to turn into zone. If
Right.
you have a zone scheme, at some point it's going to turn into man. I used to tell people when I teach them how I did it, I would tell them, I'd call it silly slide before half slide kind of became a term, because it is. The only reason I don't like saying the word slide is those guys that used to just kind of just turn and zone hard to one way. I don't like that. We are going to vertical set. We're going to end up blocking a gap, to that side. And so I don't like the words, but we're all doing the same thing.
Well, and the one thing I can tell you that I used to get in so much trouble for as a young offensive lineman at the college level, when you're a better athlete than who you play against, you get away with it at high school. But in college, I used to get in trouble for flipping my hips too quick. And so when you use the word slide, what happens is O-linemen tend to open them hips up, and then they're going to get bit across the face. And so when you vertical set, I've always been a guy where I want my inside hand up, and I want my hips to stay square as long as possible. Because then, when you get that two-way go from those cats, it's easier to do that. And defensive linemen are taught to get thin. They want to attack your shoulders when they're like this, or they get their shoulders like that. So, it's a technique thing. And if anybody ever tells you playing O-line is not a skill position, then they don't know what they're talking about, because it's tough.
All right, stop now. I don't need to come Saturday if you're going to give away my whole speech.
I'm sorry.
Hey, I tell those guys, I call those guys, I tell them all the time, they're big skill. They love me. Just tell them that. You're big skill.
Yeah, no doubt. If you guys hadn't seen this, check this out, man. Coach Mummy's squad, the Dallas Renegades, just dropped their merch, man. You got to check that out. So if you don't have an XFL team, don't tell AJ. AJ will be mad because he works for Houston. He's the one running the air raid chat. But he's got to know that we're all going to be Dallas Renegade fans. So if you're an air raid guy, you got to be a Dallas Renegade fan because, Coach Mummy's down there. So that's kind of
started camp this week.
Yeah, they did. Let's see. Here's one from Coach Flaherty. Could you talk about the different ways you take settle and noose drill and connect it to pass concepts?
Oh, yeah, easy. You have to do settle and noose every day. Almost all your routes on the air raid, I call it tight turn. So as soon as they catch the ball, they want to drop their inside shoulder wherever the quarterback put the ball at, and you want to get vertical upfield because that's going to increase your yak. Well, that's what you're teaching in settle and noose drill. You're also teaching your stances in settle and noose drill, your foot fire off of your releases, and then how to stick your routes. There's a lot of things going on in settle and noose. Same thing with even making the noose. You want to do what I call shorten the throat of the quarterback. You really want to extend your arms out and then go high and tight with the football. I will say this, and then I'll pass it to Shane. Settle and noose drill is the most important thing you can do as a wide receiver coach in the air raid offense because you are doing all kinds of individual drills during that drill.
No, I agree. I've seen a lot of bad coaches that noose drill just means they get to go walk away and talk while the receivers are jogging through, catching balls, not working any details. That is a detailed time.
Absolutely.
Right there. That period right there, you're coaching up all your fundamentals. And as far as tying it into your routes, on almost every route we run, it's a man zone rule. So if it's a zone, you're going to settle. That's what you're doing in that drill. It's all about presenting to the quarterback, showing them your numbers, finding the window, giving the middle zone to the quarterback, trusting him to throw to the right shoulder, training your quarterback to throw to the right shoulder.
Yeah.
And then the drop step and getting vertical, the tight tuck, all that kind of stuff. Eyeball the catch, eyeball the tuck. Everything that you want fundamentally in a receiver when they settle in a zone is taught during that 5-minute period right there every single day.
Now, I would tell you, I do a couple things. And, hey, Coach Flaherty, if you go over to the channel, there are 2 old school drill tapes up there. We got the Kentucky drill tape that's on the channel from when Coach Leach and Coach Mummy were at Kentucky. And you can see settle and noose when it started. And then I also have some ECU drill stuff when Lincoln Riley was there, and you can see how he runs settle and noose. Now, 2 things that I do differently with settle and noose. I will take a guy and put him in front of the receiver and make him work a release. I do that every now and then. Like every other day, I'll put a guy in and make him, slap and release and then settle and noose. So if you don't have time to work releases that day in practice, you can meld that in. The other thing I do is that when they catch the ball, they have to tell me what they see. They have to yell laces, blank, Wilson, or if you got a logo on the ball, bear, whatever it is. And so what they do is once they catch it and tuck it, if they see laces, they yell laces. If they don't yell laces, they got 10 push-ups. If they don't yell blank, they got 10 push-ups. And what ends up happening is they build that muscle memory of now once they catch it, they're going to tuck it and their head automatically falls to the ball to make them look to it. So that's kind of something that I built into it to make sure that they're getting that tuck, because so many other guys, they'll concentrate on this piece, but once they get it, they're trying to turn and look. And I want to make sure that ball gets put in there first. And so those are two things that I do with noose. Another thing I do with settling noose is in the offseason, we use tennis balls and do it in the gym.
Definitely.
Let's see what else we got.
I can do a 50-minute session on pat and go and Nio Drill. I'm really good.
Keep running off at the mouth now. It'll happen. All right. Any advice for coaches running the air raid in cold weather states? We're from Minnesota, and it always seems like the weather dictates more of a heavy run game versus 7-man box comes playoff times.
Last time I checked, it was pretty cold and snowy in Washington.
Yeah, Washington State. I think, to be honest with me, to you, rain doesn't bother me as much. The cold doesn't bother me as much. If it's really, really windy, sometimes that bothers me. We played in a playoff game one time, and it was one of those rainy nights. I mean, it was rainy. The rain didn't bother us, but the wind was gusting to like 15, 20 miles an hour, and we still lined up in the air raid, and our running back ran for 195 yards because they still had to cover people. I still think that no matter what you do, if you do what you do, you get good at it. I mean, I do understand what you're saying, though, but I do think that's a little bit of a cop-out.
Mm-hmm.
Brody Anderson said, intentionally grounding. Where are you at in Minnesota? He's also from Minnesota. Yeah, Blake. Hey, the Renegade stuff is kind of hot. I ain't going to lie. I do like that. He said he likes the shirt. I think it's pretty good stuff, man. I'm hoping to. I talked to Coach Mummy about trying to come down to a game and watching them practice for a little bit, and he said come on down. So hopefully we can get that up. Let's see what Coach Puff says. He says, "Do you guys try to find a way to help the C in pass pro? I always like finding ways to make sure a guy can help or chip the nose guard." I tell you, if you're vertical and you have and the guards are uncovered, they're always gonna. Especially the guy away from the back, I just tell him to put an inside hand up, that kind of thing. I think the thing that you got to tell the center more than anything, and Shane, tell me if you do something different. But when I was in college, and what Stacy used to always tell us, and Stacy Searles is the O-line coach at Carolina now with Coach Longo, but we used to always say the center's got to get back on the same level as the guards. Because the center and the guards kind of set the depth of the pocket. So, really that center should be trying to get out of there anyway after he just snaps the ball. And the other way you're going to think, we're talking about cop-outs, but this is my cop-out on that deal. The other way to handle a stud nose guard, throw fast screen. That joker can't pass rush with his tongue dragging. And defensive guys, I don't care how they are, any defensive coach in the country is going to be yelling, get to the ball. So throw a screen to the right, throw a screen to the left, throw a little quick game. And you got to work that guy. Just know by when it's ass cutting time, hopefully you've done some things to make him manageable. But I mean, if he's a stud, he's a stud. You just got to find the ways to work around him. Shane,
I don't tend to game plan a whole lot for that. I'm sure at some point over the last 20-something years, we've probably helped out more with a certain guy at some point, but I really can't even remember that at nose. What I have found is on those guys, even if they're successful against us early on, quarterback just slides over in the pocket a little bit and makes a throw, or even if he escapes the pocket and we make a broken play that works out good too. But those guys get bored. Even if they're successful, the first drive or two, man, they're fired up, they're full of piss and vinegar, and they're chewing on nails and they're kicking our ass. Great. Usually by the second quarter, they're not pass rushing near as hard. They've burned themselves out and they're a little bored. And then it's fine. And like you said, we're going to throw a bunch of screens and make sure they get to run a little extra.
Yeah, and I don't know about you guys, but most of the teams around here, they're not putting their studs at nose anymore. They're all playing like the four techniques.
Vortex.
They're all playing Vortex now. You don't really see that monster unless the whole team is monsters. But here's a good question coming in from Coach Hank. He said he came in a little bit late. How do you communicate plays in? How often do you huddle, or do you guys call it from the line? We talked a little bit about this last week. I think we all do a combination of a lot of different things. And a lot of it depends on how fast you want to play, don't you think?
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah, I don't ever huddle.
Yeah, you remember how long it used to take you to teach the team how to huddle? Like I played for a guy who was like, all right, your shoulder's gonna be square, and how many times did you have to yell, Oh, no, get back in the huddle. Get back in the huddle. You didn't break the huddle right. You didn't break the I don't have to do that anymore. I mean, how many reps did you waste in practice old school when telling jokers to get back in the huddle in practice because they didn't break the huddle right? But, Coach Hank, I signal everything to the quarterback, and he shares it with everybody else. The way we first started, everything was on wristbands, and the entire line, everybody looked over to the sideline and got the signal. Then we went to wristbands, and then the receivers looked over to the side, and then the quarterback told the line. Now I just have we signaling the formation to the quarterback, and he's yelling. Everybody's looking at him, and what I find by doing that is it allows your quarterback to make sure everybody's in the right place. You kind of, I guess the word I'm looking for, you kind of decrease the chances of having the false starts and things like that when you're trying to go fast. Let's see what else we got going on. Coach Piscopo is on Twitter right now, guys, just straight dropping cut-ups. So if you haven't checked out the air raid stuff, the hashtag air raid chat on thing, man, check Drew out, man. That dude is sick. Drew has thrown for like 4,000 or 5,000 yards like 5 years in a row. And you want to talk about running the air raid with cats who aren't supposed to be able to run the air raid. Trust me, I worked at the high school he's at. I was on the very first coaching staff at that school, and, it's a bunch of, average athletic white kids who work in the Christmas trees in the summertime that will just do exactly what you tell them to do. And I will tell you this, if you're not really athletic, the air raid will help you if you got guys who do what you tell them to do. If they learn how to run and settle and do things like that, then you got a good shape. So, hey, guys, we'll take a couple more questions here. It's been fun. Like I said, if you haven't gotten tickets for Air Raid Nation, check that out. If you're interested in the Total Air Raid System 2.0, that'll be dropping December 10th. If you go to the website 92meshgroup.com, you can get it. It's only going to be available exclusively on CoachTube, but right now, if you go through our website, you can get it for 50% off. It's going to be full of cut-ups and different things, a little bit different than the first Total Air Raid System, which was basically me drawing on the board and telling you a lot of different things, which was really beneficial. But the next one is powered by Just Play Sports, and so we'll have a lot of the technology and the video cut-ups and things that the software does that gives us an opportunity to do. So if you haven't checked those guys out with Just Play, man, check them out, because I'm telling you, it's a nice system if you're trying to teach your kids what you want them to do, especially in the off season. It's not like Huddle, it's not a film like trading like deal. What it is, it's a playbook software that incorporates videos, diagrams, assignments, and things like that. Here comes another question from White House Underground, talking about what's your most underrated drill. I would say settle a noose. That's that to me. People just like Coach said, people think it's time to walk around and chit chat. So, but for me, settle a noose is the most underrated drill. It's the most valuable drill. The one probably right after that is BPU. I don't think a lot of people spend enough time doing BPU. Blitz pickup. I think you really need to do that. And like I said, even if it's a walkthrough drill, Shane, what do you think?
I think the classics are classics for a reason. I think Pat and Go is another one of those. The reason we stress that drill, no matter what your plays you're going to call, is you're working fundamentals every day. You're working throwing a screen. You're working throwing a hitch. You're working throwing that fade to the outside shoulder. You're working, the receivers are working releases. They're working on making sure the ball's on the outside shoulder, hands catching, tucking the ball, all that stuff. We're working on every day during that drill, so that when we go out there and call 6 or call 66 and all that kind of stuff, we've already worked those fundamentals during that drill.
Shane, Nap, what about you?
I think it goes back to Pack and Go and Noose. Just like Shane was saying on Pack and Go, a lot of people don't know this. If your receivers aren't running on top of the numbers on go routes, they're not doing it right.
That's right.
The quarterback owns from the sideline to the top of the numbers. That's what I tell my receivers when we're doing Pack and Go on those go routes is, listen, he throws you into that area. You need permission by him. He owns that. We own from the numbers in. Right. So we don't want to give him a little window to throw in.
I've never taught it like that. That's interesting, how you say that, how he owns. I've always said run the numbers, let him throw you open. But I like that. And you know, guys, one of the things I tell you when you go to clinics, man, you know, a lot of people want to draw everything they see and stuff like that. To me, when I go to the clinic, I try to find 2 things that I can take back to my kids. Something like that. Hey, man, the quarterback owns the area outside the numbers. Stay out of it unless he throws you in it. That is a great way to teach 6 calls, man. I'm going to steal that and say I came up with it. Is that how that goes, Shane?
That's exactly right.
I appreciate that. Well, hey, listen, guys, we appreciate you coming in, and there's a chance next week we'll be the guests on the Twitter feed and on YouTube. The AJ's probably going to come on YouTube with us, and we're really excited. Hopefully, you guys can make it down to Air Raid Intensive. Really excited. If you're going to be at AFCA, I know me and Coach Salas are going to be at AFCA working on getting Knapp down there. I'm not sure if Coach Dular's coming or not, but we're working it out. We'd love to see you guys. Hit us up on Twitter. I'm at Coach Coltharp. At CNAP87 and at Doobie Dular. And once again, we guys from the mesh group, we always say, spin it to win.